I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
Oh, it's been pinched! It has been pinched, and it's the Rocket, isn't it? It's Jensen!
It's scored! Hodgson on his feet! Will surely be going to Wembley!
It's going to go all the way!
It's going in for the Giants!
He's deceptively quick for a half-back. Is he going to go all the way?
They've got the numbers out wide here of Huddersfield. They have got the man out wide. It's McGilvray for the corner, and McGilvray is in.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Talking with Giants podcast. We're coming at you as hard as Matty English at Greg Inglis this week. Fresh off the back of a superb away win at Warrington, our man Jake Rowland said this was a must-win game, and the Giants duly delivered to hopefully kickstart a push up the Super League table. Sat smugly in the corner of Zoom is a man who always knew we'd prevail and bounce back. It's Nathaniel Wood. A man on the seat of his pants, like Greg Inglis, it's Josh Phillips. And square of me, just like Darnell's pass, is Jake Rowlands. Good evening, everyone. How are we doing?
Good evening. Very well, thanks.
Fantastic. Warrington Wolves 20, Huddersfield Giants 26. Fantastic. We've spoken on previous episodes, Jake, about slow starts, but the Giants were outstanding in that first half. Flew right out of the blocks, and they gave us an absolutely fantastic start in the first 11 minutes.
Yeah, no, probably best start we've had all year. Cat falters really came out firing. I thought we had a pretty slow first set, and then Warrington came back at us, and then apart from that, we blew them away, didn't we? Very good performance, you know. Some big hitters like Jones really stood up, making massive meters in middle, and most importantly, we've actually learned to throw the ball out wide, and when we do, we look dangerous. We said earlier on a few weeks ago, didn't we? Why don't we get it out wide? When we do, we seem to go well, and then we've looked really dangerous, especially down that left edge. I was very pleased with that.
Nathaniel, you said beforehand it'll be on the fringes and the outskirts where Huddersfield Giants do the damage, and that seems to be the case.
Yeah, I just looked at the teams and just thought, out the centres and the second rowers that were probably his best chance. Mike Cooper, Darryl Clark, and Chris Hill in the props in the front row for Warrington. They're very good, three very good players out there. So, no disrespect to all props, they did very well. But I thought our second rowers, and the centres were the way to go. And it was good to see him get out wide. And Gaskill attacked really well out the left edge. And his attacking play at fullback is probably second to none. He's probably better than Golden attacking wise. But I would still been Golden back in. But yeah, Gaskill looked good. Got it out wide, and like Jake said, that first half I felt pretty faultless. There's not much I think we did wrong, to be honest. So first half very pleasing. Second half we did enough to win. That's all I'll say.
Josh, no controversy surely with that try where Darnell, it's a great try, isn't it? It gets thrown out wide and Darnell just releases it out of the back of his hand. No knock on for me. It goes square and Gaskill props it down. There's no issue with that. And Gaskill again showed his quality when he joins the attacking line as well. And a nice sell again, just like against Leeds Rhinos, and he in for a nice easy try.
Yeah, I thought Gaskill was outstanding. We'll come on to the stats later, but he was my man of the match, certainly in attacking sense. That pass from Darnell, it's one of them. If it's against you, screaming forward or knock on at you. But luckily, Mr. Child was on the spot and he saw it was level, so we'll take that all day long. But yeah, we looked really dangerous. First half, we looked like a team who'd done a lot of homework on the opposition. We looked very organised. We knew exactly what we wanted to do, and we executed it pretty much to perfection in the first half, to be honest. To go up 20-0, that's just over 3 scores in front. Yeah, you can't get much better first halves than that, can you? And then coming out for the second half, I thought, just keep it tight, keep them to 0 for as long as possible. And obviously we had to make it hard for ourselves, didn't we? But when it goes to 18-20, thinking there's only one winner here. The negative part of my brain's thinking that anyway. So, Jake, I'm sure you were thinking the same.
I thought the same, yeah, hands down.
Yeah. But then we just managed to, just complete a couple of sets. That's all it takes, just to kill the momentum a bit. Stay down for a couple of seconds and just take the sting out of the game. And I thought we did that well. Chris McQueen, he came on and didn't do a lot, but I thought he was his presence, and he just sort of had a word with some of them and said, just keep it simple, just do the basics right, get back to what we were doing. And I thought his contribution can't be underestimated when he came off the bench, because I thought we were starting to lose our way a bit. But it's not just him; it's the whole team. I thought they all just turned the tide really and dug in and made sure we got what is a really impressive and a big win for the club.
It's where that experience comes in, isn't it, with big game players like McQueen's played in big games, Josh Jones has. With them guys that I thought steadied us towards the end, where some of the other players would have probably lost their head a bit. I thought Kenny started to lose his head a little bit, leading up to his try. And he was looking like probably get sin-binned or, just getting a bit too excited, a bit overexcited. But then obviously we got that brilliant try, and then everyone else sort of steadied it away. And I thought we looked pretty good then last 10 minutes, Warrington fans that messaged me, they were impressed with Matty English. They thought he was excellent. I don't know if he went off injured, but he didn't come back on much second half, did he? I saw him in first half. He had an outstanding 20 minutes in first half, and I don't think he came back on it second half. So I don't know if he had an injury or not. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe a niggle, but yeah, that hit that was mentioned earlier on by Matt on English, that was, I felt that one from my armchair.
It was brilliant that you've got an NRL superstar there, Greg Inglis, and Matty English just goes, I don't care who you are, bang, you're having it. And I thought that was fantastic. Yeah. And Jerry hit him as well at one. Well, not hit him, but Jerry went in on him at one point with a good tackle as well, and he dropped the ball out and fell out of play. I thought that summed the Giants up. I thought they were very tenacious, and especially in that first 20 minutes, what really impressed me is that momentum's such a huge thing in rugby league. When one side gets on a roll, it's very, very difficult to stop, especially a team like Warrington, with the quality they've got. Ratchford really stepped up in that second half as well. But what was really impressive for me was the way that after 20 minutes or so, it got back to 18-20, and the Giants, who the discipline went a little bit. There were a couple of high tackles, trying to offload in silly areas, etc., and a couple of little bits, but they gathered themselves brilliantly, took it back to an arm wrestle, and just plateaued and took the sting out of the game and finished it brilliantly. I thought that was, we were just saying before we recorded, weren't we, Jake, that last year maybe that team loses that game, but this year, definitely. But this year, the grit and the determination, I don't think you can really underappreciate, how they stopped, Warrington's momentum, especially with the crowd as well. There's a crowd back. There's 4,000 people there, and they were loud for 4,000 people. They're excited, loud, and that all built to this sort of ball. The ball getting bigger and going down a hill, and the Giants stopped it and pushed it back up. I thought that was an outstanding fight back, to be honest with you, in the second half. I just wonder how you guys felt about that, and the sort of people like Chris McQueen really stood up. I thought Michael Lawrence had a steady game as well. I thought these players really stood up and fought for the club, and that's exactly what you want to see as a fan.
I don't think anyone particularly had a bad game. Owen Trout did well, because I thought he looked absolutely knackered, at one point, and they kept him on probably about 15 minutes longer than I would have thought. He looked out on his feet, but he dug in. I quite like what Kenny Edwards said, after the game, that that first 10 minutes after half time at Saints game cost us the game, because we were a bit poor straight after half time there, and he identified it, and that they knew that we're a bit poor after half time again this week. So players are recognising where they're going wrong, which is good, and it's bodes well for the future, I suppose, when you've got your players admitting where they're going wrong, and knowing straight away we need to be better in this area, and it gives me confidence over the next few weeks now.
Yeah, that second half, I probably thought after the game, in that first 20 minutes of the second half, we probably did everything we could to lose the game. I don't know if we came out just a bit over cocky, thinking we're gonna roll again in the second half and it was game over or what. But yeah, they got a roll on, and like I said, Mark, there were 4,000 fans shouting at them, and once they got one try, the fans got louder, and then Darryl Clark scored the second, and they got louder again. And just how loud the fans were, it puts a bit of pressure on the ref, puts a bit of pressure on your defence. And I think we got a penalty, didn't we? Chris Hill gave a penalty away, I think, in our hour and a half. And you could just see, Caesar came round, and I think Chris McQueen might have been on then, and you could see him just sit background saying, calm down, boys, this is our set, we complete a set, we kick in deep, and we defend here, and we got back to the arm wrestle very well, and then like I said, last 10-15, I thought we controlled the game. I know Warrington made a few yards upfield in the last set, but they're going to chuck the ball about. That was their last chance, so we didn't we were more looking after the ball, making sure they can't strip it, because this strip's coming into the game now, and you got to be very careful with that, haven't you? And I thought our players did very well to keep hold. You can see Warrington trying it a few times, and so the forwards take a massive back, they get up to the ball, we kick deep, and I think like that's the experience from Aidan Caesar played in an NRL Grand Final, so's Chris McQueen. Josh Jones played in a Grand Final over here. Luke Yates was in a Challenge Cup Final last year. So I think them experiences just lean on to the younger lads. So yeah, massively pleased with coming away with a victory, because I actually agree with Jake that last year we'd have probably lost that game, and the Leeds game that we've won. So both games we've won would probably have lost last year. So Ian Watson getting that mentality change into him is obviously working, and I honestly believe that things are looking up for us now.
On the ball sorry, mate.
No, go on, Josh.
Sorry. Yeah, so just touching on the ball stripping. I think Kenny Edwards must be up there with one of the most ball strippers of the season. You know, he seems certainly something that he's got a knack of doing. But yeah, just touching on what Nat said there, you can really see the identity, and all the players have bought into what Ian Watson wants from this team. And you could really see that on the pitch last night. You know, we had a certain way of playing. You could see what the plan was. And really, that's what you want. And then also in his interview after the game, when he was asked if they get in there towards what he wants from the team, he said, "Yeah, they're still getting there," but he didn't say, you know, we're there, which suggests things are going to get even better, hopefully, in the coming weeks, months, and years.
And what's interesting is we've gone from first few games where we were coming on strong in second half, and we've actually conceded more points over the last 3 games in the second half. We did against Leeds, we did against St Helens at Cup, and we have again yesterday. So it suggests to me something, you know, with obviously, you know, that poor spell that we seem to have had at the start of games has sort of pushed further on into the second half, which means we're, you know, more competitive in games early on. And, you know, it can change the whole, you know, outcome of a game, can that? Because if we go 3 tries down, you have to say, you know, game over, innit? You know, because I still think we can ship more tries in a short amount of time than what we can score them, as proved yesterday. You know, we had quite a few other chances to score down at Warrington End. We managed to get 20-0 at half time, but then we've conceded 18 in about 20 minutes. You know, that's where we've got to be better, I think, you know, conceding that many points in that short spell.
Well, they got a roll on, didn't they? You know,
yeah.
They played the ball at one stage, was going so fast for us. We had no control of the ruck. No. But yeah, I think we managed to somehow get that control back and steer the ship towards victory.
What I think helps the team as well is we don't seem to have any big characters as in they think they're better than everybody else. Even your top players like Jones and Caesar, the team players. You know, back in the day when we might have had Bruffy, you knew he was the main man and he made it known, didn't he? On the field to rest up players. Whether he's a better player or not, it's a different story. But, you know, all the teams seem, you know, quite close and connected, and they want to play for each other at the moment, which is good.
Yeah, like people like Jones you mentioned there, he's not come in and said, you know, I'm the leader of this pack, you do what I say. Seems like he's there to do his job. He gets on with that job, yep. And he leads other players by his example. He's not going to spout off about how good he is. He knows he's going to be judged by his performances ultimately, and so far they've been very good.
Right, Jake, one word answer. Is the top 6, is it on?
I said last week, didn't I? If we want any hope of getting in the top 6, we needed to win that game, and we have. Therefore, my opinion is yes, it's back on.
There we go, Nathaniel. Write that down in the ledger. So, write that down. Right, okay. So it's always interesting to hear what the other side, have to say about the game. So, and one particular thing that was the main focus was the crowd's been back. So we have the other side from Warrington.
We're sorry, your call cannot be
Hello, no one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
So I've got Matt Warden here, one of the luckier 4,000 who got into the ground last night. 431 days later, what did you reckon?
Take the result out of it, it was just great to be back in the ground. The walk into the ground with your mates, the anticipation of obviously game day, obviously working the day, so obviously all the build up, getting home, having a shower and stuff, and the excitement hits you when you're in the shower. Just that feeling, it's unreal.
I think you can hear it on both of us as well, can't you? That our voice boxes have not been used to this for the past 12 months or so, 14 months. But yeah, it was great to be back in there, wasn't it? I mean, I don't think it was as regimental as we thought it was going to be either, was it? It was a lot more easy going, and even though everyone was still behaving themselves, it was a lot more easy going and a bit more fun than I was expecting, to be fair. What about you?
Yeah, because it was a bit of an unknown. We was unsure about obviously what we was going into. All the conducts, the do's and don'ts of what you can and can't do. I was a bit nervous at first, but we got in there. It was quite safe. Everyone was distanced, so yeah, it was quite plain sailing when we got in and got to our space.
I think, I don't know about you, mate, but I think it's the first time in about 10 years I've watched a game of rugby without a beer in my hand.
Yeah, that was one of the experiences that I've never experienced, but I suppose times change and they're doing it to keep people safe mainly. That's the first thing.
Yeah, I mean, 4,000, it was more than half empty, but it still got a good atmosphere going, didn't they? And it was just enjoyable to be back, and it was nice having a bit of space as well, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, normally you're getting barged by people and having beer spilt all over you, so it was nice to spread your wings, if you like, and actually have a bit of space. But yeah, the atmosphere was good. Obviously, there was a few quiet lulls, but
when James Child was giving everything to Huddersfield, yeah.
But obviously that was expected with only 4,000 there. But yeah, just great to be back finally.
So all in all, for you Huddersfield fans, I'd say it's a great experience, and I wish you luck for when you eventually get into the grounds. Hopefully not long for you now. Thank you.
So that was the view from Warrington, focusing mainly on the crowd, and that's a great thing to focus on as well, because we mentioned what a difference they made, and I'm not surprised they probably want to ignore the result. Maybe it would be like that on the other way, the boot on the other foot. I think so. So we'll have a look at the talking points in particular from the game. And Josh, you've got some stats first and foremost, haven't you? Do you want to?
Yep, sure.
Go full stat.
Sorry, you broke up. Sorry. Yeah, so first of all, I've got to credit Eddie Kay from the FIFO from website. He founded the page originally in all the social media and that. If you go on there, there's actually shared loads of stats from this season and previous seasons on all the games. Everything you need is on there. So I've chucked my spreadsheet in the bin because his is a lot better than mine. It looks visually really good as well. So check that out on fifofum.com.co.uk rather, and if you get the chance. But yeah, on the team stats, comparing with Warrington, it was pretty tight overall. Warrington actually made more meters and made more carries than us, which obviously meant we had to make more tackles than they did. However, our average meter gain was higher in 8.04 meters to 7.57 for them. And we made more clean breaks, 6-4. Moving on to the game stars, top three game stars for the Giants were Leigh, Gaskill, Josh Jones, and Ricky Latelli. Even though Kenny Edwards got man of the match, but that just goes to show that stats, you can't read everything from stats, but I'll try and do that anyway. Leigh Gaskill, 4 tackle busts, most clean breaks with 2, highest average meter gain with 12.23, and obviously the most tries with his 2 that he bagged in the first half. Josh Jones, he's always in the top 3 for this, isn't he? He's a class player. 108 metres from him, 43 tackles, 10 of which were from marker, which shows the work he got through. And he was one of 4 players to make 100% tackle success, along with Luke Yates, Michael Lawrence and Joe Greenwood. So they really kept us tight in the middle of the park, those 4. And then Ricky Latelli as well. He was the 3rd game star. He made the most tackle busts with 8. The Warrington defence found it really hard to put down. And he had over 12 metres average gain as well. So Gaskill, Jones and Latelli topped the stats for the Giants. But Kenny Edwards, obviously, he got Sky Man of the match. And there's a fair case to be made for him as well.
8 tackle busts from Ricky Latelli. I thought he had a good game watching that as well. But we're going to focus on Kenny Edwards, the man of the match. He got that big try, didn't he? There was the huge moment where he went over. He was, Jake, you mentioned that at one point it looked like the game could go the other way for him, but he turned it round, and put in a great performance, really.
Yeah, I love his attitude. You can tell he's one of them players that it's to lose. He really gets up for it, doesn't he? He likes to get in opposition's faces, wind people up a bit, and we don't have too many players like that. So I think it's why he's a really good fit for us. He plays big minutes. He seems to have sorted his off-field issues out that he had over in Australia. He seems to be really settled over here, and you can tell in his performances, really, he seems to be getting better and better this year. That try he scored yesterday, it were a really good try. He carried, I think, 3 or 4 players over the line with him. I was really impressed with him yesterday. He's just his energy, he's just got just bags of energy all the time, and even when he's defending, or he's just full of it. And you've seen him in first half, giving advice to younger guys, calming them down. I just think he's turning into a really good asset for this club, and I hope he stays for quite a few more years.
I don't know what you guys think, but I always think of him as one of those players, a bit like Danny Brough. If he's not on your team, you can't stand him, but if he's on your team, you love him, and that's how I feel about Kenny Edwards. For all the reasons you just mentioned there.
Definitely. I think even when he were at Catalan, they were known for swinging a few punches and stuff, and he seems to have got rid of that out of his game for Giants, where he seems to control his aggression a bit better. But
he's more controlled now. Yeah. I remember watching for Catalan. He was a bit of a loose cannon, wasn't he, at times?
Yeah, at times. But he still has them moments where he can, a few high tackles will go in, and he looks like he could get a yellow card and sin bin for 10 minutes. But like I said yesterday, he seemed to calm himself down a bit, and then got us that, match-winning try.
Nathaniel, a little bit on Kenny as well, and take us into Wardle playing on the right centre as well. It's something we were hoping to see him back in the side, and there he was. And how do you think he performed as well as Kenny?
Yeah, regarding Kenny, I thought he was excellent. I think he's probably the leader of our forwards he's been there now a year. He's settled into the team. Left second row seems to be his position unless he's suspended or injured, and he's a real threat with Latelli. You can see them two get on really well out on that left edge. So I thought he was excellent last night. Obviously not in the top 3 for stats, as Josh said, but I think Sky probably got it right. He came with the big players when we needed him. He does a lot of the hard work. The lines he runs so Gaskill can get space around the back is excellent. He's always drawing defenders in to him because he runs so hard. So Gaskill gets a bit more space around the back, and Latelli gets a bit more space because of that. And like I say, came with a match-winning try, which I think once he scored that, I think that's when my nerves settled down and thought, that's probably the game. That's probably who's going to just edge away and win here. Regarding Jake, first of all, good to see him back. Just need him to get a bit of luck. As what I said last night, he just needs a bit of luck now to stay injury-free. He switched over to the right from the left, and I don't think it made a difference to him. He made yards. He's not sure on the tackle bus, so how many yards he ended up with, but he was very, very good, and he looked to link up with Jerry well. So I think positive signs that he looked good on the right, and hopefully now he can stay fit and he'll blossom into a right centre, and we'll have Latelli on left, and we can see more of them as the season goes ahead.
I agree with that. I thought it looked great on the right. No different to left, really. And when you've got that backline first choice, 2, 3, 4, 5 of Jerry, Jake Wardle, Latelli and McIntosh, it takes some beating, doesn't it?
I think you could tell he's not a natural right centre, because I thought he looked to cut in a bit more rather than when he's on left, he looks to go out, on the outside. But his footwork's absolutely immense. Every time it's not the biggest of lads, is he? Compared to Latelli or Leroy, he's probably half their size. But his footwork's just brilliant when he gets into line, and he can make a few extra meters, and he looks like making a break every now and again. Just from his footwork. But he's one of them players. He's so naturally gifted. In a few weeks' time, if he gets a run, like Nat says, injury free, and he gets a run at right centre, he'll probably, he'll keep that spot for years to come. And it's good news for Jerry, because obviously he's got great hands as well. Putting Jerry in the corner, he might get quite a few tries off Jake for the rest of the year.
That's exciting. So we're excited definitely by those two guys. Right, let's move on to other things that are exciting, because transfers are always exciting, aren't they? Especially in the world of sport. I think we may have different opinions in some here, but this week there's another Matt Shaw apparently doing the rounds in the world of rugby league. Apparently it's
not as good.
Well, apparently he does a lot more than me, but he's decent actually. Is Matt? I'll give him that. It must be the name.
Yeah, he's good.
Right, so he says he's 99.9% certain that Theo Fages will join Huddersfield Giants next season. He's not the only one linked with Lolohea as well at Salford, also doing the rounds as well. So what do you guys think of Fage. I know we might get a bit of a mixed opinion here. He's a player I've always quite liked, quite a little neat and tidy player. Let's go with Nathaniel. You look like you're ready to get something off your chest there.
Right, first of all, that he's not a bad player. I'm just not convinced he's going to be the man that's going to lead us around the park like an Aiden Caesar player. I honestly believe that Lomax and Lachlan Coote make him look a bit better than he actually is for me. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad player because you don't play for St Helens, you don't win a Super League Grand Final if you're a bad player. But is he the man that's going to come in and run this team? Now, I know a few Saints fans I've spoken to, and they don't think he will, and they watch him every single week, and it just worries me that if you put him next to Aiden Caesar, I think great signing. Is he going to be the one to lead us round? Ian Watson thinks so I'll back Ian Watson's judgment because he knows what he's talking about, I don't, so I'll back Water to get it right. On Lolohea, he's not been great this year for Salford from what I've seen. However, Water got the best out of him, didn't he? He wasn't very good at Leeds. He went to Salford and finished that year, and he played well in the Water last year at Salford. So if Water can get the best out of him, then brilliant. Does look like that could be the end for Caesar and Gaskill if the rumours are true. And you're looking, obviously, you're bringing 2 half-backs in. I don't think we've got 4 half-backs at the club already. I can't see us keeping all 4. So it will mean, I reckon, at least 2 of them will leave, unfortunately. So I'm not convinced. Like I say, I'm not saying he's a bad player, don't get me wrong. I know Jake and Josh are big fans of him. I'm not saying he's a bad player. Defensively, he's outstanding for a half. He's brave. I can't knock him for that. Is he the man that's going to come in and lead us to a grand final and organise this team? I'm just not 100% sure yet, but I'll be happy to be here next year and telling me that he's proved me wrong.
I agree that they're both good players. Obviously, Fage, as you say, I'm quite a big fan of his. Problem for me is, understand Caesar's, chances are he's not going to be here, which you're always going to have a job replacing him, and it'll be unfair to compare him to him because he was a sort of one-off signing that we were able to make. When they're not going to come along every year, those kind of signings. It's a sort of like a Brett Hodgson sort of thing, once every 5-10 years sort of signing for me. That's how good he is. Gaskill, he was outstanding last night, albeit playing at fullback. But it's quite a lot of upheaval, isn't it, next season, getting into new halfbacks when the ones we've got now are going pretty well with Gaskill, Caesar, and Cogger's doing pretty well as well. So it's just, my concern would be sort of ripping this up and starting it again next season if these rumours are true. What do you think, Jake? Do you think it's sort of...
I don't think Fage is a bad signing. He's a good player. He's still only young at 26. He could still improve. I think how old's Ollie Russell? Like 22, 23. He's for the sake of a few years. The amount of experience he's got and the level he's played at. You can't buy that sometimes. So it'd be a good signing. What worries me is if it is to replace Aiden Caesar, he's not a marquee signing for me. He's, like Nat said, there is still questions over, if he plays behind a big, strong pack at St Helens. We don't have that here currently. A lot of times, we do make less meters. We get under the cosh quite a bit defensively, but I do think he's good defensively. But I'm not sure he's that man. It's hard to say. It depends who he's going to be playing with at the other side. If it's Lolohea, I'm not sure. I'm not a big fan of Lolohea, if I'm honest. He had a good year last year, but he had a poor year the year before. Looks like he's put on a bit of weight again this year. How can you just be? You're not, for me. And I just don't know if he's got the right attitude. It's a gamble taking him again for me. Yeah, he worked well for Watson at Salford, but what's to say he's going to come here and he's going to be the player he was last year? He might be the same player he is at Salford. So I'd rather us keep Gaskill, over signing Lolohea, if I'm honest.
I think Gaskill's sort of... Is he playing for a new contract, do you think? Or do you think
that's what I was going to mention earlier. It's funny how these performances are coming out when he's up, when he's either got to find a new club to get a big 3-year contract somewhere, because he's playing much better than he has in previous years for me at this moment in time now.
Yeah.
last year we saw glimpses of it, but it does go missing. He did go missing quite a bit in certain games. He seems to be injury free. In previous years, he's been. That's quite. I'm not saying it's on purpose, but it's quite convenient. The year that your contract's up, you're suddenly fit and you're ready to play your best rugby. And in previous years, you've missed half at season. It's one of them, and I think it's
maybe
a tough decision to make, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, maybe he's drawing me in, and he's playing for a contract, like you said. But I've always been a big fan of him. I think he's a great rugby player. He's very intelligent. He knows his way over the try line as well. He can just sort of coast through like he did last night without anyone touching him. He scored a few tries like that against Cass a couple of years ago. He's a really talented player, clever player. But it's just getting him to do it consistently. And at the age he is now, are we thinking, has his time gone to be that consistent player? Or is Watson looking at him thinking, well, when I came in, you weren't in my plans for long term, but the way you're playing, is he playing himself into those plans? We'll find out, won't we, at the end of the season.
I mean, at the start of the year, if somebody had said to you, would you prefer to have Leigh, Gaskill or Theo Fages, what would you have said?
Fages.
Yeah,
I still probably would.
Yeah.
But if you'd said, would you rather have Gaskill or Lolohea, what would you have said?
I'd have probably said at the start of the year, Lolohea, off the back of his performances last year.
Yeah.
But going into the season now, and I've seen how poor he's been at Salford. But again, at Salford, they've lost quite a lot of the key players again, haven't they? And they've not really signed anybody of quality for me. Callum Watkins they brought in end of last year, but they've got a much weaker squad than they had when Watson was there. That's just my opinion. So,
do you not see Lolohea as a sort of player who, obviously, all players are better in good teams, we know that, but in a good team, do you not think he's a sort of player who can do damage sort of out of nothing and can just create something? Whereas,
he'd do something at Leeds, though, wouldn't he? If that were the case, but they
had a bad season, didn't they, when he was there?
Yeah, true. I'm not sure. He's pretty young himself, isn't he? I think he's only 26 himself. So, keep him fit, and trim. He's got quite a few years ahead of him. So, could be a good signing. Like Matt said, we've got to trust Ian Watson. If he's the player he wants, then I suppose we've got to back him for at least a year.
Give him a chance.
I'd personally pick Gaskill over both of them. Like I said before, I'm not doubting that Theo Fages is a fantastic rugby league player. He is. For me, you don't play at St Helens every week, especially when they had Danny Richardson there as well. It was a good playing him right. He got picked over him, so he has to be a good player. But Lomax and Coop run the St Helens team and he plays off the back of them for me. Yes, he puts the kicks in, but he doesn't have a really long kicking game. I don't think like I said, Coop does all the kicking and he just steps up when he needs to. And if you put him next to Seed so he can play like that, then I think he'd fit in perfectly. Is he the one to come and organise the team? That's my doubt about him. He's a good player. I do think Coop and Lomax make him look a bit better than he is. I mean, to be fair, I could play 7 for Saints next to Lachlan Coop and Johnny Lomax, and they make me look good, and I'm overweight. So,
I mean, one thing Gaskill's got over Lolohea is he can play fullback as well. So if you pick up an injury at fullback, like we have with Golden at the moment, he's now fitting in quite well there. Whereas in previous years we've said, Gaskill's been pretty poor when he's played fullback, hasn't he? A few times he did last year. But this year, he looks to him starting to look a bit of a better fullback, especially attacking wise. Defensively, I still think he's
attacking wise. He is defensively.
I still think he's pretty poor. But Lolohea, you won't put at fullback. There's times I've seen him at fullback in recent years. He's been absolutely woeful. So,
I think fullback is Lolohea's best position. Now I'm going off. Obviously, he needs to win a consistent games there, but he also runs a player like Jake Connor, where he needs the freedom to do what he wants. He's not your organiser. He's not going to play half an organiser team. He's not that sort of player. He's not going to stick to a structure. He wants to play what he sees. When he sees Jake Connor can step in at Hull, now he's playing at fullback and do what he wants. And I think that's what Jake Connor started the season so well for. And Lolohea sort of does remind me of that possible that if you put him at fullback, he can run in when he sees it and just get involved when he wants and bounce around. And I think you'd see the best of Lolohea if he did that. I mean, I haven't seen him defensively, so I don't know if he'll get his numbers right and defensively if he's any good at fullback. But attack-wise, I think he just needs that next to him who will dominate, let them take control of everything and let Lolohea just play what he sees in front of him, and that's when you'll get the best of Lolohea. And I think that's what Water did with him. You know, he had Jackson Hastings who ran the show, and then Lolohea played off the back of him in that half of the year when they got to the grand final. Last year, Kevin Brown, he organised a team, and Lolohea bounced off the back of him underwater. I know they've not clicked as good this year at Salford, but obviously, like I say, Water did get the best of Lolohea, so I wouldn't be against the Lolohea signing. Obviously, I prefer Gaskill, I prefer Caesar, I prefer Cogger, but we look what's out there. Realistically, if Caesar was to go, then Theo, Fages, Lolohea, it's that sort of player that we're going to attract. We're not going to attract a Nathan Cleary out from NRL or Sean
No, I mean,
Johnson.
that's what I was going to say. I mean, at least we linked to good players, Super League quality players. You know, in previous years, probably best we could have hoped for is like Tom Holmes from Championship, you know, and players similar quality. You know, at least we've linked to, you know, a current, you know, top Super League halfback in Theo Fages, you know. A lot of teams would snap their hands off to get him, you know.
Yeah, go back 3 or 4 years, we'd have no chance of signing a player from St Helens who's playing week in, week out. So that shows the club's making strides. But just going back to Gaskill at fullback, I think, his second try last night, where he just came into the line. When Golding goes back to fullback, do you think we're going to lose something from our attack?
I'm not so sure, because if you remember when Golding first come back last year, he came back and he had a quality first game, didn't he? Where, you know, he attacked well, he's got good hands. I think just defensively, he'll make us so much, you know, he'll just tighten us up even more. You know, what worries me is we look so vulnerable under the eyeball. Every time one goes up,
that's true.
You know, no one's anywhere near it all the time. I mean, I think he took a couple last night, Gaskill, but, you know, most of them he's nowhere near, or he just looks so uncomfortable, and he nearly dropped one right at the end of the game, which would have given Warrington a chance to you know, to go in again, I think, didn't he? You know, they showed it on replay a few times.
He did that just for you, Jake. He knew. He listens to this, and he did that just for you. I'm positive.
You know, defensively, he's not a fullback, but, you know, he's improved his attacking play at fullback, which, you know, and he's for a team, he probably could make as a starting fullback for a team, you know. If he decided to, I think he's from over St Helens way, isn't he? So, you know, he might think, you know, I could be Leigh's number one choice fullback, you know, on a good 3-year deal. He might think of himself as a fullback now, you know, after his performances. He might be going on to market as a fullback, you know. You don't know, do you?
Well, let's say Golding takes the number one spot back. Who are we all going to partner Caesar? Are we going with Gaskill or Cogger? Go around you.
Cogger.
Jake?
I think Watson will go with Cogger, but I'd go with Gaskill at the moment with the amount of breaks he's making.
Matt?
I like them both. I'm quite interested to see how Cogger develops, to be honest with you. I think he's good. I think there's a bit of mileage in Cogger. I don't think we've seen the best of him yet, so I'd like to probably see us keep him. But you can't drop Gaskill at the minute. It's a tough one. But anyway, let's move this on a little bit. So last week we did say, Jake, that you turned into George Michael with a little bit of Jesus to a Child's. This week you've gone a bit Axl Rose with a little bit of Sweet Child's of Mine. A little bit of redemption maybe from, not even redemption. I thought he had a good game. Wasn't that bad last week really on reflection, and a good game by Mr. Childs this week. I think sometimes it's only fair to praise a referee when he does something decent. Yeah,
I thought he had a pretty good game, but I do think we got the rub of the green on a couple of decisions, which, you know, 9 times out of 10 he probably won't give us in past. Still baffles me sometimes why I went to, you know, video ref for Warrington's try, which got disallowed, because there's no difference between that and, you know, Josh Jones's try last week. You know, why not go up?
Maybe he's
learned. It's just that's what winds me up about him. He seems to do it for some teams and not for others. And I think it's always they go with the big teams. You know, if the big team, something happens, you know, they think, we've got to check. Where if it's someone like Huddersfield, Wakefield, they're just like, no, wave it off. You know, and I think that's where they need to be better. But all in all, I think he had a good game. You know, he didn't get influenced by the crowd. You know, they were booing quite often from early on. You know, and he didn't seem to let him bother him. He just stuck to reffing, and I thought he had one of his best games for a while.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the best games that I've seen him have, especially for a Giants match. But yeah, when the teams are coming out and the refs come out and the crowd's getting going, it's quite unusual to hear it again. And then you see Childs' ref, you think, oh, now it's coming here. I think I put a message in the group, sort of, here we go. But that never came to fruition, really. Maybe we were just really well disciplined last night as well. You have to give credit to the players. But yeah, I thought he refereed the game really well. Don't have any complaints. You never do when you win, though, do you?
No, I thought he should have probably sent Ratchford for 10 minutes for that tackle. I think if it'd probably been the other way around, we'd have probably had a man in bin. But yeah, it's got to be a little bit more consistent with with tackles like that. Because I think I saw one a few days ago in a different game, and they didn't hesitate to send man to bin. So I think just all in all, Super League refs have got to be more consistent between themselves as well.
But we don't want to see what happened in the NRL last weekend, where every other tackle was a yellow card, wasn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah, pretty much, yeah. But it's because we seem to land certain referees more than others, and Childs refs quite a lot of our games, doesn't he, in recent times? You've got refs like Chris Kendall, who never seems to get a Giants gig at all, probably because he's from here. But he refs, the way he refs the game is just totally different to Childs and Hicks. So it's just like that consistency. Because obviously some teams will get refed by Kendall a lot more often than we do. So it's that balance, isn't it?
So well done, James Child. Let's move on. So we know full well that there's more than one Huddersfield Giants team. So let's give a big congratulations, Josh, to Huddersfield Giants women. I don't think it's an over-exaggeration to say that it's a real moment in Huddersfield sport, to be honest, as the ladies got their, I think it's their first Super League win, isn't it, against Bradford?
Yeah, that's right. And they had to come from behind to do it as well. They were 2012 down. Obviously, it's still early days in the Women's Super League season. But they hit back, got back to 20-all, and then Amelia Brown went over. And then Regan Walker sealed it with, I think that clip's on Twitter. I think it's on the Huddersfield Giants Women Twitter page if people want to go and watch that. But yeah, really good to get off the mark early days because it's a new team and, the Women's Super League is still a fairly new competition. So yeah, important to get the first win on the board, and that'll give them lots of confidence because you don't want to be, without a win after 8-10 matches. So let's get it done nice and early. Big result as well against Bradford Bulls.
An established club.
Going on to Amelia Brown, I saw some fans from other clubs tipping her for an England shirt in the near future. So it says quite good that for a young lass at 16, to be tipped to be playing for England in a short while. I think it's good going.
Certainly.
Absolutely, and the academy, perhaps things didn't go quite as well for them, but it was as a Huddersfield Town fan of a certain age, it was quite fun to see the son of Marcus Stewart lining up for them as well. Kean Stewart, I believe, was out on their wing, wasn't he? To watch a Stewart grace the John Smith Stadium turf would be very nostalgic for the likes of me and Jake, I would imagine. But yeah, things probably not quite go as well as what you would hope maybe for the academy, Jake.
No, I think that's a bit disappointing, really, because you expect us to beat the likes of Castleford Academy. If it's someone like Leeds, Wigan, St Helens, but our academy is better than Castleford's. It has been for quite some time. So when I looked through Cass Academy team sheet, there were no players that I recognised. We had quite a few players in. We had Aidan McGowan at fullback, who's not even academy age at the moment, and neither is Ian Stewart. So not too sure why those guys were playing unless they've extended the rules, changed the rules so you can have a couple of players over the age of 18, 19. Because I think Ian Stewart's about 21, 22, so a bit of a strange one that. We had players that Watson's given praise to in pre-season: Will Price, Fenton Rogers, Robson Stevens, Kieran Rush, and with them guys playing, I'd have expected us to win really. So I think it was a bit of a disappointing result, to be honest.
May have been a disappointing result, but for me, I view the success of the academy a totally different way to winning games. I view the success of the academy of how many of these young lads can step into the first team when they leave the academy. I'd rather see 2 or 3 of these lads get first team full-time contracts at the end of the season and come bottom of the league than come top of the league and see none of these make the first team. So I think that's how the club have got to look at it. I don't think it's about winning games, especially when there's no league. I think it's about getting them out there. First time they've played, they're probably a bit rusty. They haven't played for 14, 16 months. So I think, for me, it's all about getting them ready. As long as they've done the stuff that Ian Watson's asked them to do and Kim Williams has asked them to do, then I think it's a massive plus that they're back out on the field, and hopefully 2 or 3 of them will gain first team contracts and they'll be the first team squad surely playing in front of us all.
I'd agree with that. I think youth sport is all about development first and foremost, isn't it? And at the end of the day, if you get a couple more seniors, McGilvery's, etc., Cudjow's through, then that's really what the whole point of the academy is. So, I think the academy, from a personal point of view, under the likes of Andy Kelly, it's made great strides, hasn't it, over the last several years. So, looking forward to seeing more from those guys and anyone pushing through from there as well. So, I think the last thing, really, very briefly, Josh, before we move on to Leigh Centurions, is a bit of fixture scheduling you're a little bit miffed with.
Yeah, so when the fixture scheduling came out, I just thought we've got to wait until June the 11th until we can, as Giants fans, go and watch a home game, and that's almost a month from Monday's game against Warrington. So I just think, I just think they could have scheduled it better. Really, like we shouldn't have to wait that long.
We might not get to go, if they change restrictions in a couple of weeks.
Exactly, yeah. I just think it's they're giving us 3 away games in a row. I just think, especially given the circumstances, unless they've done it on purpose, I don't know. But it's just a bit annoying.
Not sure if it's true, but is the ground being relayed, and that's why we've asked to have all these away games at this point? I have heard a rumour that the semi-final venue couldn't be picked, and someone saying it couldn't be at Headingley due to the cricket. It couldn't be at Wigan because obviously they were risked at being there with us, and also our ground was being relayed, so they couldn't have it at the John Smith. Now that could be a load of rubbish for all I know. I've not heard anything concrete, but it's rumours that I've heard that the stadium was unavailable due to the ground. So if that's why we've got so many away games, maybe after the football season's now finished, is it being relayed and we'll be first on the 11th of June, and that's why we're spending 4 weeks away from home.
That'd be fair enough.
It would make sense.
Fair enough, if so.
I'm not sure if that's true, Josh, so go over to that, please.
I'll wipe my neck in.
I have questioned it in past, though, a few weeks ago, when I said, that they do give like in Challenge Cup, they make it easier for top teams like St Helens. They played Leigh on the Friday night the week before. We then get, we've got Leeds Rhinos on Sunday, and then we have a short turnaround to Challenge Cup game on Friday. It's just little stuff like that. It does help, doesn't it? In a little way, in terms of recovery. We had a tough game. They didn't have a tough game, and then they get the 2 days extra rest. I do wonder who makes the fixtures sometimes, but seems to benefit the better teams for me more often than not.
But let's hope we're all there for the 11th of June. It should be a good night against Wigan, hopefully.
Live podcast, who knows? Lisa, but before we get too carried away with that game, we've got Leigh Centurions on the horizon. Let's start with you, Nathaniel. We've got Leigh. They showed up quite well against Wigan, didn't they, the other night? Any changes that you would make potentially going into this game, or would you keep it as it is? And one of the questions we've got as well is, will we be able to watch it?
No, I'd leave the team as it is. If everyone's fit, you got to, you rewarded them for beating Leeds, didn't you? So I think the Warrington win's probably a bigger win than the Leeds win was. So if you're going like that, then let's reward them and stick with the same 17 that were out last night. Not many players I can see coming in. He may want to bring James Gabbett back in for Trout, maybe, but I won't personally. He's played well as well in Trout the last 2 games, so I'd leave him in there off the bench. But yeah, for me, leave the team as it is. Hopefully we'll be able to watch it. I know they stopped the Wigan game being recorded, then the day before the game they decided that our league can stream it, so hopefully Derek Bowman don't do that to us this week and don't pull the plug so we can all sit at home on a Sunday afternoon and watch it. No disrespect to Leigh, but I feel like it's a must-win for us. There's no point being Warrington if you're going to go and lose to Leigh the week after. You've got to capitalise on this momentum you've got after a big win. So, for me, leave the team as it is. Let's get a roll on here, and hopefully we'll all be able to watch it.
Anyone else?
I agree with that. I think the key is taking the last 2 results and taking confidence from them rather than getting complacent. But I'm sure Watson will allow that to happen, with the way he goes about things. Only change I might make if I was Watson, I might give Jones a rest, because in his post-match interview, Watto said Jones had been ill all week, and he played 80 minutes yesterday despite being ill during the week, and also got a knock as well, I think. So maybe I'd put McQueen into right second row, and then maybe promote Gavi or Wilson, or even Ashworth to the bench. But that's the only change I'd make. But saying that depend how I don't I'm not seeing Jones every day, so it depends how he is this week in training. But if he's not 100%, I wouldn't risk him.
I don't think we can have the luxury of dropping players just yet. I think until we're on a winning streak, I think we need to keep our strongest team out there. Unless Leigh is injured and can't play. Fingers crossed he's okay. So I think he only got a bit of a split end in which I don't think should keep him out Sunday. But for me, I'd keep it. I don't think we deserve the luxury yet of resting players, but I can see a point as if he carries on being ill for 2 or 3 days this week and misses training, then you may be tempted to pull him out.
And if fit, I'd be tempted to put Ashton Golding on bench. They did mention that he'd probably be fit round about this weekend, or if not the week after. If he is fit, I'd be tempted to do like we did with Sam Wood last week, have him on bench, and then maybe, I know Wood didn't come on, but, if we've games won and we've got 20 minutes to go, bring Gaskill off and put Golding on just to give him a bit of a run out, potentially. But I do agree. I think we've got to win our next 2 games, if I'm honest. Leigh and Wakefield, if you want to be a top 6 contender, can't be losing to teams like that. Lolohea, then Leigh or Wakefield if we want to get in top 6. I know we've beat Warrington, but like Nat said, there's no good beating Warrington if you're going to go, counteract it by losing to Leigh. We've lost against teams like Hull, Catalans, Lolohea. We need to be beating the rest of the teams, below us. And that includes Leigh and Wakefield the week after.
So pressure.
Let's go for some predictions then to round off. Josh, you're going to kick us off with a scoreline.
Well, we seem to do pretty well against them in the Challenge Cup, so I don't want to get too carried away because we know these things can change. But I'll go Giants by 20.
That's not getting carried away then, yeah?
That's not getting carried away.
Not getting carried away. I wonder what he's getting carried away.
Can't wait till he gets excited. Jake?
I'm going to go Giants by 14.
No.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Jake. Not often I agree with him, especially when he's tipping Giants to win. So, going off the League Cup game, you'd agree with Josh. You're looking at it could be 20, 24, 26. We're a better team out now, but they have just put a good performance with Wigan. But then again, that is their big local derby. They've done that twice this season. So, between the 14 and 20, I'll split you both and I'll say Giants by 17.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're capable, like I said in previous podcasts, we always seem to find a way, even against League Cup where we had that dodgy spell where they leaked over a couple of times, and I just think, we're bound to have that, but we will come away victorious. I just can't see us tonking them by 20, 30 points. Hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. We do need it for his goal difference, though.
As long as we win, I don't really care.
I'm going to say by 8 or 9 points. I think Leigh are starting to get to grips a bit more with Super League, and I don't know why, but I've just got this feeling we might dip a little bit after an excellent performance against Warrington. We might just arc down a bit, but I still fancy us to win. So a full house again for the victory. So fingers crossed. Looking forward to the game next week, and fingers crossed that we can actually watch it as well. So come on, Derek, if you're listening, let's watch that game. So thanks for everybody for listening, and thank you for your contributions and messages and support as well. We all really appreciate that. So here we go. Let's hear that victory song.